Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, more on the topic of water with Carl Roerink. He's the Executive Director of the Great Basin Water Network, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Oh, what fun it is to win during the $100,000 Christmas giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Up to $17,000 in cash and free play giveaways each week, and over $20,000 in giveaways on New Year's Eve, including up to $10K in cash. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're going to continue our conversation we started the previous show with Carl Roerink. He is Executive Director of the Great Basin Water Network, and that glue on your chair really paid off for me. Let's start out with the Grand Canyon, because as we were just going to break from the previous show, you mentioned that people don't really understand what's happening with the Grand Canyon. Tell us.
Well, I think what we're dealing with here is we were talking about a tension between ag and the big cities, but we didn't even mention the environment, right? And as we are seeing these shortages on the river, problems at Lake Powell, problems at Lake Mead, what's in the middle? We have America's, national treasure. I think the place when we think of wild and scenic locations, Americans think about the Grand Canyon. And so the Grand Canyon is, the meat between the two pieces of bread in the sandwich here that are our nation's two largest reservoirs. So, the amount of water that flows through there affects recreation such as whitewater rafting. It affects fish species. Even you have issues like all the sediment building up behind Glen Canyon Dam at Lake Powell. If you have some retrofits made there, what does that mean about all this sediment and basically gunk sitting behind Glen Canyon Dam? What do you do if that starts going through the Grand Canyon and then ultimately comes down to Lake Mead? I think there are just a myriad of other problems, whether it be water temperature as well has a major role to play in ecosystems in the Grand Canyon. And so as we deal with this crisis just from maintaining reservoir levels, we have essentially one of the crown jewels of the national park system just wedged right in between it. And so I think we also, when we have these conversations about water usage, consumptive water use, we have to be thinking about the environment as well. And it's just a really difficult situation.
Okay, we don't talk much on this show, but I would like you to, if you can, to talk about what's going on in the upper Colorado River that feeds down into the Grand Canyon. I mean, you know, what kind of shape are they in the upstream states?
Well, I think one good place to look is at Flaming Gorge Reservoir, which is basically it's in Utah, and it is, you know, basically being used to help mitigate the effects of what's happening at our reservoirs. So they're draining upstream reservoirs in order to help fill Powell and Meade right now. So, you know, that's one way to look at it. Because of the shortages on the river, you have that happening in other reservoirs. But I think from a climate perspective, what you're seeing is, I think last year's a good example. You have about 105% average snowpack, but you're not seeing similar runoff patterns because our soils are drier. And so in what would have been, I think in normal situations, maybe 50, 70 years ago, you would have, if you have a 100% snowpack year, you could expect a certain amount of runoff. But now, because our soils are so dry, you're not getting the same amount of runoff. And
is that because the ground is absorbing the water?
The ground's absorbing the water. And so you're also having more evaporation, quicker snow melts, different periods of time of runoff patterns. So what we're seeing where in the upper basin, where about 80% of the water that ultimately winds up in Lake Mead starts in these high mountains in Colorado and in some parts of Utah, you're just not having the same types of runoff. It's that simple. And
okay, so is the big explosion in this, if hydro is shut off, if suddenly the lower states are not getting hydroelectric power, is that the wake-up call that everybody's going to go, wow?
Yeah, I think the water managers right now, whether it be the federal or the states, they're talking about hydropower at a place like Glen Canyon Dam. I know this summer, for example, when California was really on the verge of those rolling blackouts, it was getting electricity from Glen Canyon Dam. But I think with all of what's happening in energy markets today, I don't think that saving Lake Powell should really be about hydropower, and I don't think that's what all the powers that be on the river are really trying to save it for. I think that's a good soundbite. It's a good way to get people engaged, but I think really why you're trying to keep Lake Powell alive, why water managers and other entities are trying to keep Lake Powell, is you have some serious issues at bay as it relates to the structural integrity of Glen Canyon Dam when water levels start to decline.
Okay, but I guess my point is this, that politicians are going to argue about everything endlessly. And it's not till the public responds in a massive way, either by voting in an election or just outcry to suggest that some politicians are not going to keep their jobs, that there is an awakening and a move to get things done quickly. And if you shut off power to all the places that receive hydroelectric power, is that not going to be the crisis that screams?
Well, I mean that could potentially happen, but I think there's probably in most situations enough electricity on the grid to really prevent that. But I think the public outcry, where it's really coming from everything that I monitor, it's from the agricultural sector. I think that's where everybody is pointing the finger there, saying, well, ag needs to do more because they have the majority of use on the river. And they're absolutely right to say that, that ag does need to do more. And I think they are trying to figure that out slowly but surely. Again, the issue is that because of the way that rights work on the river, some of the biggest users, ag users, don't have to do anything.
Right.
So,
and there's still flood irrigation being utilized.
And there are arguments for or against flood irrigation, benefits that it actually brings to the environment. I just did a road trip all throughout, really western Arizona and southern California, where you have, 80% of your winter lettuce grown and stuff like that. Some of those lands, that's all that wildlife has left. And so it's like, it's just a terrible situation that, what's happened over the past century is we've overbuilt, we've overallocated, we've overextended, and now we're in over our heads a little bit. And we're dealing with this, and we're asking entities to change, basically in the middle of the night.
Okay, so let me ask you this, a little off the center here, but is what happened with the Walker River and Walker Lake an example of how things can be fixed? Because it was like the show The Producers, where it was so over given to so many different uses that didn't matter how much water came into the Walker River, it was never going to fill Walker Lake. It was always going to keep on going down. And when Senator Reid was in the Senate, he helped to do the negotiations that allowed the federal government to buy up water rights to allow Walker Lake to actually be saved. Is that any kind of example that can be used in a bigger picture?
That's basically what's happening. The Desert Terminal Lakes program was just throwing a bunch of money at the problem. Now, here's the issue, is that on the Walker, you haven't seen ag producers take all the money that's being thrown at them, and so we're really not seeing, immense and great progress at the Walker. There's still ongoing litigation in federal court right now. So, and a lot of that deals with, well, how do we actually get more water in there? So there have been some good things that have happened, but there's still, again, that tension that I keep talking about there. So, money can only go so far, and I think that is what is happening on the Colorado River, is you have the federal government throwing out money saying, hey, here's what we'll give you all per acre foot, 300 or so acre feet in the lower basin. I guess they put $150 per acre foot in the upper basin. Who's willing to take it? And producers in these regions have to figure out, well, can I make more if I grow? Or should I just take the money because I may not have the water next year because there may not be water in the reservoirs to actually dole out? I think the one thing that we can say is the federal government is going to make sure that the health and safety of citizens is going to be taken care of at some point.
You bring up a fascinating point, which is because normally money is the be-all and end-all of all of these discussions, and whether it's the current owners of the water rights or their children who may not have as big an interest in maintaining those water rights and would rather take the money. But in the end, can the federal government force people to take their money in a form of eminent domain?
I don't think that can necessarily be the case, but I think especially the federal government has greater authority in the lower basin to go in and really do some arm twisting. Really use a stick more than a carrot. In the upper basin, it gets a little bit more difficult because the management set up there is largely a state-led effort and state water rights issue. I still think the federal government, I was just talking with a law professor about this last week, about the federal government's ability, again, to do some arm twisting with the states to get entities to use less. And I think, again, where we'll see that really happen in a more expedited way is in the lower basin. The upper basin is a bit of a different story. So time will ultimately tell what the Fed's able to do, but I think that's why the certain regulatory processes we have going on now is a way for the federal government to lay things out and tell people, well, either deal with it or sue us.
And that will be a short process, right? Okay, we'll take another break. We'll be right back with Carl Roerink after this timeout.
With Nevada's only transplant center and verified burn center, the science is here. With award-winning cardiologists and the state's only dedicated heart failure clinic, the talent is here. With Nevada's most advanced robotic surgery, the technology is here. And with the Silver State's only designated pediatric trauma center, hope is here. All because we are here. UMC.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker, and you've got a lot of convention space and meeting breakout space for people. Tell us about what's available.
Well, we can handle a group up to about 250, and anywhere as small as 10 or 15. So it really depends on what you're looking for, what the customer's looking for. We're open to anything. It's a beautiful drive, and if you live in South Reno, it's probably about 30-35 minutes, so it's real easy to get to. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Carl Roerink. He is the Executive Director of the Great Basin Water Network. So, a project that I've been following for probably 20 to 30 years now has been Ivanpah Airport, which will be the secondary airport for Las Vegas. It was originally designed as the idea was a freight airport, so you could just have tourists coming in through what is now Harry Reid Airport, and the freight would go to Ivanpah. You would have light rail between Ivanpah and Las Vegas. 6,000 acres. Airports are huge economic development drivers. Your thoughts on where this is? Because Terry Reynolds from the Department of Business and Industry was on here saying it's going to be sooner than later, not the 8 to 10 year time frame that Chairman Kirkpatrick was talking about, but maybe a lot less.
Well, nobody loves Ivanpah Airport quite like you, Sam. So, I'm glad that we're able to talk about it. I mean, I think,
listen, it is a huge economic development project. I mean, it's an airport, for goodness sake, and it's 6,000 acres. This is not a small thing, but apparently I'm the only one that cares.
Well, I mean,
publicly.
Well, I think, when other guests of yours like Par Tolles come on here and talk about their real estate developments there, I think people are paying attention to it. I think that's why the elephant in the room is the Clark County Lands Bill. To really, galvanize and drive that whole effort, I think they want more federal land freed up down there for all types of development opportunities. And again, this goes back to the question for me. To do that in the way that they all envision it will require pipelines of Colorado River water, new pipelines of Colorado River water. And however you want to do the math on the water accounting, well, we ripped up this much grass, and so we can send that water down to the Ivanpah Airport now. To me, I mean, these are the existential questions that the folks down in Las Vegas have to ask themselves is, do they think that there's more water coming to the Colorado River anytime soon?
Well, the Southern Nevada Water Authority says, without naming Ivanpah, that they have water available to develop from Apex all the way down to Jean. So, from that point of view, they say it's already there. And then somebody was saying to me the other day that not only do you have to pipe the water down there, but you got to pipe the effluent back up.
You do, and they don't have that pipeline yet. And they were actually, the SNWA wanted to build a pipeline under Sloan Canyon National Conservation Area. That didn't happen with the BLM. They're back at the drawing board working on that. So, the infrastructure isn't there yet. So I think, there's still a lot of work left for them to be able to do that. But again, I go back to the question of, where's the water going to come from?
Well, the other question is the environmental question. You are obviously an environmentalist, but you are not as strident as some have been in this particular topic. You have always seemed to me to be a more reasonable man. But it looks like every time we have a project that's going to benefit society, like lithium mining in the state, we have all these environmental groups that come out in opposition. And it's hard to balance. It's like, well, we want, a decarboned atmosphere, but we're doing everything we possibly can to stop it occurring because we're putting up all these environmental hurdles. Because we hear that a plant is going to go in somewhere, a lithium plant, for example, a lithium mine, and then somebody goes out and finds a wildflower or a shrimp that hasn't, been heard of before, and suddenly there's an environmental impact statement, and the whole thing comes to a grinding halt. Where's the balance there between, protecting the environment and protecting the environment? It seems like we got two competing sides here.
It's, these are the seminal questions of our time, Sam.
I'm glad that Nevada Newsmakers is the place for seminal questions.
You guys are handling it here, but I think. Issues like with Team's buckwheat at Rhyolite Ridge, or even the Dixie Valley geothermal project, Fish and Wildlife, the federal government has just listed 2 species over the past month. And
have they heard of evolution?
Well, the
dinosaurs are no
I think
longer
that's what
here.
they would say. They would say, Sam, have you heard of evolution and speciation? And so I think
what is speciation?
The amount of how a species, whether it be a flower, whether it be humans, how they have developed over time, and that special process.
And gone away over time.
And gone away over time. But the question is who is driving? What is driving that extinction? And I think the question is in an era, Congress created the Endangered Species Act for a reason. And so I think, the environmentalists that are using the ESA are saying, well, these are the laws of the land. Why aren't we abiding by the laws of the land?
But does national security trump environmental laws at a certain point?
Well, I think the question is, what is national security when you have entities?
Well, if China owns all the lithium, that could be a problem. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerauer, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Snorkel personnel lifts are engineered beyond the industry norm to an uncommon level of safety and durability, and with an eye towards sustainability. They're also designed to be simple to operate and maintain. Snorkel, always at the cutting edge of progress.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, our remaining moments with Kyle Roerink, Executive Director of the Great Basin Water Network. Are you optimistic?
I am optimistic because I think all the parties on the Colorado River, especially, they are resigned to solve the issue. So I'm optimistic that some good change is actually going to happen. I'm optimistic that cities are going to be able to thrive. Well, we can still grow our own food in this nation, and that we can still protect environmentally special places. I think that's what we all want to see. We all want to see that balance. We all want to be able to go to Grand Canyon and have a breathtaking experience. We all want to be able to, live in cities or, have our family in cities be able to thrive. And we all want to be able to have a good meal on our plate. So, it is this balance, I think.
So we really have no choice.
Yeah. There is no other choice but to adapt and change, to speciate.
I'm writing that down. I'm going to check my dictionary. Kyle Roerink, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. Entertainment here at the Carson Valley Inn is extraordinary.
Yeah, super proud of the TJ's Corral, our outdoor venue, about 1,500 seats. We've had first-class entertainment out there. We've had Merle Haggard, we've had Chris Young, we've had Lee Brice a couple times, we've had Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, who's in the Hall of Fame. We're real proud out there, and it's just a great time. Watch CarsonValleyInn.com and grab those tickets early. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your furnace breaks down today, we fix it today. Why freeze for days while your furnace is down when Nevada Heating can get the job done today and you can get warm again? For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 and we'll fix it today. That's 323-5585 or online at nevadaheating.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Oh, what fun it is to win during the $100,000 Christmas giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Up to $17,000 in cash and free play giveaways each week, and over $20,000 in giveaways on New Year's Eve, including up to $10K in cash. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.